Was Nazism really right-wing totalitarianism? An examination of the platform of the National Socialist German Workers' Party. A colleague of mine made the statement, true fascists are trying to label National Socialism, Nazism, as socialism so as to hide their own ideology. He went on to say that socialism and Nazism are both totalitarian. As such, there are some similarities, but clearly one is left of the center and the other is on the right, far right. Thus, while there may be some common methods to both, their objectives, what they want to achieve, are diametrically opposed. He finished by saying, right-wing conservatives are fascist and similar to a Nazi. What is fascism? Merriam-Webster.com defines fascism as follows: a political philosophy, movement, or regime that exalts nation and often race above the individual and that stand for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of opposition. Given that my colleague referenced the Nazis, let us review how the Nazis came to power and what their political power was at the time they came to power. The platform of the National Socialist German Workers' Party, Nazi Party, founded well before Hitler came to power, was encoded in a program that described how Germany would be run. Of the 25 points in the program, 18 describe political philosophies that can best be described as socialist or left-wing and revolve around bigger government, more government control, more welfare for the people, retirement income, education and healthcare, nationalization of industries, profit sharing for workers, and so on. I have listed those below. Hitler was a member of and ran for election as a member of the Nazi Party. Until the crash of 1929, the Nazi Party elected few officials to government. However, after the crash, much as in the US, the promise of the government taking a greater role in managing people's lives, healthcare, education, and retirement income got many left-leaning politicians elected, including FDR in the US. The Nazi Party took the most seats in 1932, but not enough to form a government. At the time, Germany had 6 mainstream political parties. While the Nazis won the most seats, the second-seat winning party were the Social Democrat Party, a party dedicated to the transformation of the capitalist system of private ownership of the means of production to social ownership. The third winning party was the Communist Party. We know what communism stands for. The fourth winning party was the Center Party, a party that included more centrist politicians, some conservatives, and Christian Democrats. Many people at the time saw the political battle as being fought between communism and a softer socialism, as embodied by the Nazi Party and the Social Democrat Party. The Nazi Party was often referred to as being on the right, but that term did not mean American-style conservatism. It meant the party was on the right of the Communist Party, which was clearly on the left. The Nazi Party, by its very platform, was socialist. Hitler was supported by many entrenched politicians, the ruling class, business people, and centrists, the Center Party, because it was felt that the Nazis had a better chance of withstanding the increasing rise of the Communist Party, which was seen as the big threat. Remember, the Germans had witnessed what happened in Russia over the previous decade. However, when Hitler came to power, he threw much of the Nazi Party program out of the window as he became a dictator. How he ran Germany after his rise to power was far different than the platform that got him elected. My colleague suggests right-wing conservatives are somehow like Hitler, but we have just had an election where the party elected, 2022, did so on a platform very similar to that of the Nazi Party in 1932. Bigger government, more government control, national health care, free education, guaranteed income, more regulation, and government control of industry, and so on. So, let us go back to the definition of fascism. I will print it again. A political philosophy, movement, or regime that exalts nation and often race above the individual and that stand for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of opposition. The first part of the definition is nation and race above the individual, which means a system where the nation, which implies the government, is above the individual. Right-wing conservatives want a nation where the people are above the government. Today's progressive left favors the government over the people with such policies as forced mask, vaccine mandates, and shutting down free speech. The second part is a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader. Right-wing conservatives want a nation where government is not centralized, but limited and headed by a fairly elected president. Today's progressive left favors a massive federal government with huge powers over citizens and use of every means possible to crush opposition. The third part is severe economic and social regimentation. Right-wing conservatives want freedom and liberty and limited government. Today's progressive left wants massive control over the economy and business, and further control over social mores and traditions. The fourth part is forcible suppression of the opposition. Right-wing conservatives want freedom of speech, the right to own guns, and an independent judiciary to ensure the citizens have the right to challenge those in power. Today's progressive left wants to limit free speech, limit gun ownership, and uses the judiciary to persecute its political opponents to suppress opposition. Given that the progressive left has a platform like the Nazi Party, see Nazi platform below, and the progressive left supports policies and government actions in line with the definition of fascism, the conclusion must be it is today's progressive left that is fascist and similar to Nazis, not right-wing conservatives. 18 socialist points from the Nazi platform. We demand that the state shall make it its primary duty to provide a livelihood for its citizens. All citizens shall have equal rights and duties. The activities of the individual must not clash with the general interest, but must proceed within the framework of the community and be for the general good. The abolition of incomes unearned by work. We demand, therefore, the ruthless confiscation of all war profits. We demand the nationalization of all businesses which have been formed into corporations. We demand profit sharing in large industrial enterprises. We demand the extensive development of insurance for old age. The utmost consideration shall be shown to all small traders in the placing of state and municipal orders. The abolition of ground rent and the prohibition of all speculation in land. The passing of a law for the expropriation of land for communal purposes without compensation. We demand the ruthless prosecution of those whose activities are injurious to the common interest. The state must consider a thorough reconstruction of our national system of education. We demand the education of gifted children of poor parents, whatever their class or occupation, at the expense of the state. The state must ensure that the nation's health standards are raised by protecting mothers and infants, by prohibiting child labor, by promoting physical strength through legislation providing for compulsory gymnastics and sports, and by the extensive support of clubs engaged in the physical training of youth. The publishing of papers which are not conducive to the national welfare must be forbidden. We demand freedom for all religious denominations in the state, provided they do not threaten its existence nor offend the moral feelings of the German race. The party is convinced that our nation can achieve permanent health only from within on the basis of the principle, the common interest before self-interest. We demand the creation of a strong central state power for the Reich. The unconditional authority of the political central parliament over the entire Reich and its organizations, and the formation of corporations based on estate and occupation for the purpose of carrying out the general legislation.